If you think a Maltese is just a little white fluff ball meant for cuddling, pause for a few seconds, because many people fall in love with this breed at first sight, and then grow steadily exhausted over the years simply because they don't understand its body and psychology. This video is not meant to make you adore the Maltese more, but to help you raise one without making it suffer and without draining yourself in the process. The Maltese is one of the oldest dog breeds in the world, with a history of living alongside humans for thousands of years. That history leaves a very clear consequence. They are born to bond, not to be left alone. With Maltese dogs, the idea of personal space almost doesn't exist. They need contact. They need touch. They need to be present with you in the rhythm of daily life. If you are constantly busy, often away from home, or believe that small dogs can entertain themselves, this is the first point you need to reconsider. Many behavior problems in Maltese dogs don't come from being stubborn, but from a prolonged lack of emotional connection. Physiologically, Maltese dogs do not tolerate cold well. Their small bodies, thin fat layer, and limited ability to regulate body temperature make them prone to chilling, especially in humid or windy environments. Warm clothing is not a cute accessory, it is a health protection tool. If you've ever seen a Maltese shivering when the weather turns cool, that is not adorable. It is a sign of biological stress. A very common misconception is that Maltese dogs bark a lot. In reality, they bark excessively only when their nervous system is under prolonged strain. A Maltese that is properly socialized, has a stable daily routine, and receives clear guidance from an early age can be a quiet dog and extremely suitable for apartment living. The issue is not the breed, but how we respond when they are afraid, not when they are well behaved. Don't let their size fool you. Maltese dogs are surprisingly bold and often unaware of their limits. They tend not to back down when challenged, even by much larger dogs. This is not aggression. It is a self-protective instinct that is poorly calibrated. At dog parks, your supervision is not about control. It is about compensating for a small body with an oversized spirit. In terms of health, Maltese dogs fall into the category of not extremely fragile, but never to be taken lightly. Issues such as hypoglycemia, tracheal collapse, and white dog shaker syndrome are not mentioned to scare you, but to remind you that a dog's origin matters more than its appearance. Choose a responsible breeder. Avoid puppy mills, and especially stay away from teacup Maltese. That is not a cuter version, it is often a body forced into unnatural smallness, at a very high cost to health and quality of life. Many people are surprised to learn that Maltese dogs are not lazy at all. They don't need hours of outdoor running, but they do need daily play to release energy indoors. A bored Maltese may not destroy things right away, but tension will build quietly and eventually surface in ways you don't expect. Maltese dogs are generally very suitable for children and family life, as long as children are taught how to touch, hold, and respect the dog's body. They can also live harmoniously with other pets if introduced early, not through force, but through repeated safe experiences. Maltese dogs are generally very suitable for children and family life, as long as children are taught how to touch, hold, and respect the dog's body. They can also live harmoniously with other pets if introduced early, not through force, but through repeated safe experiences. Raising a Maltese is not difficult, but raising a Maltese properly requires understanding that this is not a breed you simply add to your life, but one that steps directly into your daily rhythm. When you adjust to that reality, the reward is not a perfectly obedient dog, but a small being that trusts you completely and stays by your side for a very long time. And there is one thing very few people say plainly when talking about the Maltese. They mirror your lifestyle far more closely than you realize. Maltese dogs are not good at enduring instability. When your daily rhythm is chaotic, meals are irregular, sleep is disrupted, and your mood swings unpredictably, that small body absorbs it all. You may notice reduced appetite, shallow sleep, increased startle responses, or excessive clinginess. Not because the dog is misbehaving, but because its nervous system is trying to regain stability through you. Another point that new owners often overlook is that Maltese dogs are extremely sensitive to how you speak and touch. They don't need loud voices or intimidation. A slight change in volume, speech tempo, or the way you bend down to pick them up is enough for them to read whether something is safe or threatening. Maltese dogs that spend years with patient caregivers tend to have a very different look in their eyes, less tension, less scanning, and softer movement. That is the sign of a body that is not constantly in defensive mode. In real life, Maltese dogs are not suited to a leave them there and play when you have time style of care. They do better with people who treat care as part of a daily routine, like making coffee in the morning or turning off the lights before bed. You don't need to do a lot, just do it consistently. A few minutes of brushing each evening is not only about appearance. It becomes a ritual that helps lower their heart rate and release the tension accumulated throughout the day. You will also notice that Maltese dogs dislike sudden change. Moving homes, altering daily schedules, adding a new family member, all of these require time for their bodies to adapt. Maltese dogs who are informed through behavior, meaning you gradually introduce changes and keep certain daily anchors intact, adjust far more smoothly than those thrown directly into a new environment. And then there is a somewhat counterintuitive truth. Living with a Maltese teaches you to slow down, not because they are weak, but because they force you to observe, to notice breathing, posture, eye expression, and the smallest reactions. You cannot care well for a Maltese if you are always rushing. But when you slow down long enough, you may find yourself regulated as well, sleeping better, paying closer attention, and missing fewer subtle signals from your own body. Maltese dogs are not for everyone, but for the right person, they are more than pets. They are beings that live in the same rhythm as you, sharing the most ordinary days, and it is within those ordinary days that the deepest bonds are formed. There is a deeper layer that longtime Maltese owners often only recognize after years of living together. This breed easily learns human stress. They don't just respond to behavior, but to internal states. When your anxiety is prolonged, a Maltese's body often shows it in very subtle ways. Excessive paw licking, following you more closely, or difficulty fully relaxing during sleep. This leads many people to misinterpret the dog as being overly attached, when in reality the dog is co-regulating its nervous system with its caregiver, a trait commonly seen in long-established companion breeds. Another rarely discussed point is that Maltese dogs do not thrive in a highly performance-driven style of ownership. Constant command drilling, expectations of fast responses, or comparisons to working breeds tend to exhaust both the human and the dog. Maltese dogs learn best through daily rhythm, gentle repetition, well-timed praise, and not making mistakes into a big issue. When you release the pressure of having to be obedient, their willingness to cooperate often increases quite naturally. In multi-person households, Maltese dogs often choose one person as their primary emotional anchor. This does not mean they don't love others. Rather, their nervous system needs a stable reference point to return to. If that person is frequently absent or emotionally inconsistent, the Maltese may become more restless. This is why many people feel that Maltese dogs only follow one person. In reality, it is an emotional survival strategy, not favoritism. As they age, Maltese dogs tend to decline quietly, rather than dramatically. They complain less and show fewer obvious signs, but slow down bit by bit, taking longer to stand up, pausing longer to look, needing more time to decide. People who live in constant haste often miss this stage, while those who are used to observing will realize that caring for an elderly Maltese does not require doing more, it simply requires slowing down with them. And finally, Maltese dogs do not teach you how to train dogs better. They teach you how to live alongside another body that is fragile yet highly sensitive, where stability matters more than control, and presence carries more value than any technique. When you truly understand this, raising a Maltese stops being taking care of a dog and becomes a shared relationship, one with rhythm, attentiveness, and depth that grows over the years. And as this video comes to an end, if I may leave you with one slow thought, it is this. The Maltese does not enter your life to prove how good you are at raising a dog. They are not here to make your home a little more cheerful or to fill empty time. They arrive with a small body, a sensitive nervous system, and a very specific need: to live within a stable rhythm, safe enough that they do not have to tense themselves every day. Many people love the Maltese for their appearance, then feel disappointed because raising them isn't what I imagined. But if you look closely, most of that exhaustion does not come from the dog. It comes from trying to force a companion animal to become an easy one. When you stop overcorrecting, stop comparing, and begin observing the dog's body before judging its behavior, the relationship naturally becomes lighter. Raising a Maltese, in the end, is not about keeping them happy all the time. It is about not keeping them in prolonged insecurity. When a small dog no longer has to stay on guard, no longer has to read human moods, no longer has to tense itself to adapt, a deep bond emerges on its own, quietly, without display, but enduring. If you are living with a Maltese, today you may not need to do anything more at all. Simply sit a little closer, touch a little more slowly, and notice how they breathe when they are beside you. That is often the clearest answer to the question, am I raising them well or not? And if this video helps you look at the dog next to you with a different gaze, calmer, more understanding, and with fewer expectations, then that is more than enough for one video.